That the two adult sons, Eric and Don Jr., are very much gung-ho about fight to the finish. This election was stolen from you. It's rigged, sounding very much like their father. And not surprisingly, I think.
They did the three things. Not forever, but for a few weeks. Mask mandate, they stopped large public gatherings, and they had broad contacts tracing. What happened? They had a 100% decrease in deaths, Jake. 100% decrease 88% in hospitalizations, 82% in cases. It took about 3 to 4 weeks. It's on par with some of the worst humanitarian disasters we've seen around the world over the last quarter century.
It's so depressing because not only is this also predictable, it was predicted. We've been talking about this since February and the insufficient ways that the Trump administration has dealt with this crisis, whether testing or contact tracing. Anyway, I want you to take a listen to
smaller right-wing channels like Newsmax and One America News that are further to the right than Fox News, and Trump is promoting those channels right now. Newsmax has seen an extraordinary surge in viewership.
We've actually incurred.
I mean, how is it not a dereliction of duty? The president, this is going on right now. It's getting worse. It was all predicted. Everybody's been sounding the alarm. President Trump has not announced any sort of revamping of testing, revamping of steps needed to be taken, contact tracing. What should he be doing?
Hey everyone, welcome to the first episode of Real Talk with Drew here on Drew TV. And really what we're going to do is we're going to make this actually a YouTube and a podcast type of session. We'll chop it up, put blocks into it for other social media content whenever we choose and feel like we can do that. And, the fact-checking mongers aren't going to get on our backs. Because here at Real Talk with Drew, we're actually going to talk real talk. We're actually going to go through the actual current events, things that are going on, the mindsets of the individuals in society and how things are actually going. But also at the same time, what we're going to do is we're really going to bring out some real facts, some real truths, some real incidences that are happening. And we're not going to really be subjective one way or another. We're going to try to stay right down the middle as far as for analyzing this and assessing it without having to care one way or another about a political party. I believe that political parties are actually really, really destroying the general nature of human beings here in America. It's destroying America. I really do believe it is. Politics is very, very destructive. And so I just want people to just really stop thinking about somebody just because they're either a Democrat or a Republican, whichever way that you view things, whichever way that they are. If they're the opposite side, stop hating people just because of that. It doesn't mean that they're not a good person. It just means that they have a different philosophy and a psychological mindset that may be a little bit different than yours. And it might not be that much different, but it's that little bit of difference that actually swings you one way or another. And so you might actually be a lot more in common than you would find. And if you actually speak with other individuals and you actually speak to the opposite side, instead of just fighting and trying to make a war go on, and instead of that, just actually sitting down in peace and discussing things with someone else, you may actually find peace and harmony and a camaraderie where you two can get along and understand each other. Crazy. It's a crazy concept, I know. It's called, communicating and being good at it. So, with that being said, let's get off that topic. The first thing that I really wanted to talk about, though, is this actual election, the 2020 election. What's going on here? We do have President-elect Biden that's basically he's choosing his chief of staff. He's already choosing his chief of staff. I forgot what his name was, Klein or something like that. Then he's also, basically he's putting his establishment in place already. He's declaring them. And then you also have Trump, who is the current president, who actually is taking quite a few states that are going to be major swing states to court for voter fraud. Now, unfortunately for anybody who is a Democrat, I have to give this one to the Republicans because yes, there was a lot of voter fraud and there is a lot of evidence of voter fraud. Testimonies from poll workers, many of them in Michigan. The ballots all had they were saying there was a box full of ballots that had all the same signature on them. And I mean, you can't count those. The others were, I mean, just, people that were born in the 1900s. And so you're telling me that these people are 120 years old voting? And there's like a high turnout of 120-year-olds voting? Like, I mean, these items and these things that happen, they don't compute. They don't add up. And obviously there's some type of voter fraud there. I don't know if it's enough and substantial enough for Trump to win, but I do understand his process and why he is going through this. And why he was saying that he didn't like mail-in ballots in the first place, because he probably already knew. I mean, pretty much everybody in politics probably already knew that they were going to try to get away with this one. And then if it goes to a recount and they lose, they lose. But, at least try. At least try. We got to do anything we could possibly do to get this man out of office. And honestly, I really do believe the Democrats are at that point. I think they're that desperate to win that they are at that point. I mean, that's just my personal opinion on it. So what's going on here, it kind of substantiates it for me. I don't know about you. However, I don't see Biden contesting any of the states that Trump won. All I see is Trump contesting the states that Biden won, which makes me to think that there's something going on there, because if you really look from state to state and really look at, the popular vote in each state and look at it as far as for a region and not just the numbers, I'm talking about as a region. And every state pretty much is all red. And then Biden has all the inner cities, all the major cities, the inner cities. He has all of them. And it's kind of odd. That to me is just a little bit odd too. That just kind of signaled something in my brain. Something's a little off here. Now, other than that, I mean, really, what can you say about the election? You have to wait. We all have to wait until December. I mean, it's going to be like an early Christmas gift for you. Or it's going to be an early lump of coal. One of the two, I guess you could say. Yeah, we're all going to have to wait towards Christmas time to figure this out. They're really going to pull this out. They're going to really extend it. It's going to go all the way until the December. So at this point, we really don't know who's going to win. We don't know who's going to lose. What we can do, though, I believe, as individuals, and what can actually help us is to actually unite. For once, we actually unite and start being united citizens of America. You know what I mean? Like, not just the United States, but I mean, like, really united citizens of America. Like, let's all unite. Let's stop bickering and snickering about. It doesn't matter who you voted for. At this point, let's just make this country better. Let's do better for one another. Let's try to love one another. Let's care about one another. Let's do the right thing. Let's do the right thing. We're all asking for love and respect, so let's just give it and then all take it at the same time. We'd be great and wonderful if we can do that. So, now, outside of that, the next thing that I really wanted to talk about was just going to be about society standards. And that was kind of a segue into it, I guess you could say. Because society standards has just completely just been ruined. I mean, the standards of today are just like, they baffle my mind. They really do. They baffle my mind. There's no integrity. There's no morals. There's no values. Like, we're slipping on all of these very important keys to success. And we're just thinking that because somebody else does something to us, we can act this way towards everyone else. And that's not the case. And we have to put an end to this. But how do you do that? Like, I mean, really, how do you do that? How do you get society to stop hating one another when everything's just getting nastier and nastier and nothing's getting better for people? So they're just getting angrier and angrier and they're hating more and more. So how do you fix that? What do you do? I mean, the only thing that I really can believe that would actually assist us in this time is for the actual citizens to really own up to their own citizenship and just say, I'm one individual. And if everybody, honestly, this is the real answer to it. How you get it done, that's the real problem. But the answer is literally simple. It's just getting every individual citizen to understand that, you know what, we're all Americans, and really we shouldn't be fighting each other because there's other countries that are trying to come and get us. So we need to be protecting ourselves and worried about that kind of stuff and growing our economy and doing well and, you know, protecting ourselves from the enemy that's going to come and attack us. That's what we need to be worried about. But we're not. We're worried about fighting each other. And I mean, how is any country ever going to win that way? I think it just needs to be taught more. I think it just needs to be out in the open more and just literally discussed. This is what's going on. This is what's happening. We're being divided by media, by politics, by every source and fathom that you can have. Yes, it's happening. So the people need to talk to each other, and we all need to explain to each other that, look, we need to all stop. I don't care what you're fighting about. I don't care, you know, I mean, if you disagree with me on this or that, we have a bigger goal. You know, I mean, if there was a big giant dragon or something that we all needed to kill in America, everybody's going to stop worrying about politics and all this bull jive and money and income, and none of that would matter. Everybody's just going to go grab and bear arms and grab their knives and whatever the heck they have, and, you know, guns, knives, whatever weapons you have, and we're all going to try to fight this monster together and try to all unite as an America to create, you know, demolish a bigger monster. And that bigger monster is here, and it's just that you can't see it. And I don't want to try to sound like I'm some kind of preacher, because I don't believe in sounding like a preacher. That's not what I'm trying to do here. I'm not trying to preach to anybody. I don't really care about religion at this point. That's beyond that. There is a bigger enemy though that's happening, and I'd rather focus on the enemy that's in front of us than to have discussions on the side. And so I try to have those side discussions with you as much as possible, but nobody really wants to talk about the real enemy that's really, really happening with us all. And so that's where I want to actually grow Drew TV to where people can actually see the reality of how life is, and we can start seeing that real monster, that real monster that's out there. So society standards, I mean, I think they've gone to crap, me personally. That's my opinion. They've gone to crap, and you know, I mean, I'm going to help to try to establish some good standards that everybody would agree with, and that's just my focus. That's what I'm planning on doing, and that's the I guess the ability, the talent, the gift that I want to give to the world. So that being said, the last question that anybody's going to have with everything that I just said, because I mean, some people probably have to rewind this a couple times just to kind of really truly understand what I'm talking about, because I'm talking about complex situations here and complex mentality. And what's next? How do you simplify this to what's next? What is next? Well, next is literally we have to have people start uniting. And the more influential a person is, the more of a responsibility it is on your part to stop fighting the opposite side. No matter what it is, on whatever situation it is. It's almost like you have to have like a marriage with everybody now. In order for especially if you're a high influential person, you have to have a marriage with everybody. You have to treat everybody like, you know, I love and I care about you. I do respect you. It's not that I don't. I may not believe and agree on these terms, these things, you know, so we got to find common ground. We have to find the common ground. And we all just have to be natural and instinctive on figuring out who's going to actually work with you to find common ground and who's not. That will divide everybody in a way that is more beneficial, because at least at this point, you got certain people who are just, they're not going to help and to buy, and they're not going to work with anybody. And then you have the majority that actually is willing to work with each other. So now it's an easier way to conquer all the people who are opposed that and who are truly evil. And this goes beyond, you know what I mean, anything other than the fact that this is positive, negative, this is scientific, this is polar opposites. And I would much rather stay on the positive side, because the positive actually creates. The negative destroys and the positive creates. And anybody who wants to get scientific with me, this is exactly the truth that everybody knows. Positives create, negatives destroy. And so what I really want to do is discuss that as well. That's what's next, is realizing that we need to break it down to a scientific form. Yeah, you want to leave God out of it? Okay, well, let's leave God out of it. I'll talk about my God later on outside of a video. But when it comes down to a video, I'm going to talk about pure science and scientifically. Positive creates, negativity destroys. As point blank and period, when I say that statement, there's nothing anyone can say beyond that you are going to try to negate that. It's a truth. It's a truth. Positive creates, negative destroys. It's a truth. There's nothing you can do to argue that. There's no other way you can argue that. And if you do try to argue that, all you do is display a point of negativity, of hatred, of argumentativeness to somebody who's not going to allow you to do it to them. And then so, you see where the positivity is, and then you see where the negativity is. So it only validates the purpose and the truth of what I'm actually trying to bring out. So let's see how many people can actually and would like to challenge me on that. I mean, I would love for you to challenge me on that one. What's next? Let's talk about that. What's next? Positivity creates, negativity destroys. Let's see who wants to argue with me on that. I mean, really, it's getting down to that simple fact. Who wants to argue on that fact? So, with that being said, I love you all. Be great, everybody. Be real. Be you. Thank you for coming out. Make sure that you hit that like button. Do a thumbs up, please. Helps the algorithms. Obviously, the subscribe button helps the algorithms tremendously. It helps me reach out and get this voice out to many, many others. As you can see, I'm not monetized at this time. So please, just help me to get up there so that I can actually monetize to continue to do this and prepare for when they try to shut me down. So this has been episode number 1. I love you all. Be great, everybody. Be real. Be you. Till next time. See you shortly. True TV.